All right. Hi there, everybody. Welcome to Silver Knew Nothing. Tonight I am going to put together a kit that I have, which is Sweet Summertime. These will be listed later this evening in my Etsy shop, but I wanted to have a before and an after, and so I'm making the kit so that you can see what you would be able to make with your supplies that you would receive in this kit. And it sounds like I've still got my audio on. I'm going to put together a kit that I have, which is let me mute the computer. At least I know that I have sound. Most of the time I do this and I don't have any sound, so I'm glad to know that I have some sound. And give me just a moment. And we'll go ahead and get started. Go ahead and leave me some messages. Give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment. And here we go. All right, so we are going to make a wreath with these supplies. The supplies that are included in this kit include a 14-inch metal wreath form. It also has a full roll of mesh. This is the 10 by 10 yard deco poly mesh. It's the border mesh with the metallic in it, so I think you can see the metallic that's there. And then it has this really cute Sweet Summertime sign. It'll come with 5 yards of each of these ribbons. And then you'll also receive cable mounts to be able to attach to the back of your sign, and pipe cleaners to obviously attach the mesh to the base and to attach the sign to the wreath as well. So those will be everything that you receive. Hi, Kim. Thanks for watching. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with cutting the mesh. We're just going to do simple ruffles on this one, and we're going to just, well, actually I probably should put the base together before I cut the mesh. So I'm going to put the base together in a very simple format. I'm just going to use 12 ties, and I'm going to start here with what I call a crossbar. So I'm just using a Dollar Tree wreath frame. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 bars on it, and then it has 6 crossbars that make sections. So I'm just going to tie my pipe cleaner around the crossbar of the 2 outer rings, and that'll give me my first 6, and then I will go through each section and put one in the middle as well for a total of 12. So I'm just quickly putting this together. I know that depending on where you are in the country, this could be crafting after dark, but for me, I'm on the West Coast, so this is crafting after dinner. Not very late here yet. I think, what is it? It's just 8:30. So if you're joining me from the West Coast, thank you so much. And if you're on the East Coast, I hope you're not past your bedtime. All right, so I've got the 6 put together here on the bottom, and now I'll go ahead and add the 6 to the top. So for these 6, I'm just going to put them here in the middle. This is a pretty standard formation for putting the wreath base together with the Dollar Tree base. I know that work forms are quite the commodity. Oh, Kim, it's 11:30 there? Oh, in North Carolina? Oh, yeah. Are you a night owl? Normally I'm a night owl. So like I said, I'm just putting together a standard Dollar Tree wreath base. There is like the work frames that come with the ties on them already are a commodity right now because of the import challenges. Well, really, since we weren't getting any imports at all from China, so that's where the wreath bases were coming from. So knowing how to create a work form can be really helpful. Okay, so I've got 12 ties on my base, and I'm going to set it off to the side. And then I am going to cut my mesh. And I'm just going to do 30-inch ruffles. And my mesh roller, you guys, is not fancy. I literally have a Dollar Tree basket that fits the mesh. And then I took a plastic hanger and I broke the bottom off of it. And then it just gives me a rod to be able to thread my mesh. And I have it on a little table off to the side. And that's my mesh roller. Okay, so by doing 30-inch ruffles, 30 inches will give me exactly 12 pieces. So that is my goal here. And I never cut all the way at the very end. I always pull it over a little bit farther and cut in a little bit. So let me find my rotary cutter. There we go. So I've got this pulled out to 34 and I'm going to cut it 4. So that'll give me a 30-inch ruffle. And I'm going to cut these up. I'm going to cut the entire roll. I am so ready for it to be warm. I live in northern Nevada and it has been cold. Today actually was really nice. It got to 70 for a little while, and then once the sun went down, then it got really chilly again. So I'm hoping that we have true springtime weather coming our way. I am very ready for that. Okay, so of course the mesh is going to stick to itself because that's what mesh does. And if you are just new to wreath making, you don't have to use a cutting mat and a rotary cutter. You could use scissors and like a yardstick or a measuring tape. There are some crafters that I know that actually have determined like how long their arms are, and then they know that that's as long as the mesh that they're going to use, and then they figure out that calculation to make their wreaths. I'm about done. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. And you'll see that was pretty much the entire roll. I think I might have, I might have 15 inches left of that roll. So a 30-inch ruffle is perfect for a one roll wreath. Okay, so now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to ruffle these. So I'm going to bring my frame back over, and when I ruffle, all I'm doing is I'm going to put these curl side down, and I'm going to place my thumbs in the middle, and then I'm going to use my fingers to walk it up and kind of hold the part that I scrunch. Now, if you're doing this and you find that, maybe you're over here or something becomes like a little scawampus, that's okay. Because you can just let go of it and start over again. So just using my fingers to make a nice little ruffle here. I'm going to ruffle all the way to the end. And then I'm finding the middle. And it's given me a really pretty, almost like a butterfly in a way, or like bird's wings. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and put this as close to the metal on the base as I can get it. And then I'm going to take my pipe cleaner or my chenille stem and I'm going to twist it a couple times to hold it in place. And that's what I'm going to do for all 12 of them. There are some people who actually will like fold this part in, but because I take this and I push it right up against the middle of my base and I scrunch it pretty tightly with my pipe cleaner, I don't run into any problems with being able to see the ends or seeing the mesh fray. So I am starting with my bottom or my outer ring. Again, pushing that as tight as I can up against the base. And twist, twist, push those up. All right. So I like this, the ruffle method, because it is fairly quick and it's really easy. And as I mentioned, it makes it one roll of mesh wreath, so it becomes cost effective as well. So I'm going to have a really pretty full wreath when I'm done. And this border mesh is going to look really cute with the watermelon sign and the ribbon that I have. It'll be very summery. And I like to take these and kind of butt them up next to each other to kind of make them a little bit more fluffy. That's just one of my own personal preferences. So I see that we're getting a few more people watching. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment. Let me know that you're here with me, that you can hear me. A lot of times I do this and I talk to myself because I don't realize that my volume's not on. I know that Kim could hear me earlier. She was able to tell me what time it was and where she's located. I'm Holly with Silver Knew Nothing. And I make wreaths. Oops. So I started making wreaths a couple years ago, and I did that because some of the other hobbies that I had, well, my vision changed and it was hard to do. So I used to make jewelry, but that was really hard to do with small pieces. Welcome to middle age, I guess, for me. I couldn't see those little pieces of jewelry or the fine wire or all those other things. So what I like about the mesh making wreaths is that I'm not dealing with such small pieces, and I still get to make things that are beautiful. Hi, Twyla. I'm not new to wreathing. I've been doing this for a couple of years. I just haven't put myself out on social media very much. So I'm new to building my social media audience. But like I said, I've been making wreaths for a couple of years now. How about you? Do you make wreaths? Got this mesh in the way. I'll move it out of the way. So for anybody who's just popped in, I am making a kit. I have a watermelon wreath kit. So I've got, and it's just a 1 roll of mesh wreath. And I'm doing a ruffle method, and I took the mesh and I cut it into lengths of 30 inches. And I've almost got the base done, and then we can play with the fun stuff, which is the ribbon. So again, to make my ruffle, I'm just putting it curl side down and putting my thumbs in the middle and scrunching it up. Bringing it all in, making like wings. Oh, yeah, so you're just starting to get back into being serious about it? Yeah, I've got a full-time job during the day. Before COVID, I worked from home, so for me, as far as my work situation, nothing really changed for me in that regard. I'm still home the same amount of time as I was before COVID, which is kind of nice because I can take a break and come in and if I want to take a lunch hour, I can make a wreath usually in about an hour. So I shared my stream in the Learn to Make Wreaths because I know that there are a lot of people that are in that group that are learning how to make wreaths. And because I was doing a very easy method tonight, I wanted to share my process with the people that are in that group, which is why I shared my stream into there. Oh, it was time to travel and then COVID. Oh, that is such a bummer. Oh my gosh. When COVID happened, I actually was traveling for work, and I had was traveling to New York City. And at the time, I don't think anybody was taking it seriously. I remember that I had a layover in Denver, and there was one man with a mask. And I remember thinking, that silly man. We are in a safe area, and COVID hasn't hit America yet. And lo and behold, literally 25% of my team came back with the worst flu we'd ever had. At the time, they weren't really testing for COVID, and I think that 25% of us probably picked up like the European version of COVID when we were in New York City. It was the worst flu ever. It took a really long time to recover. Well, hopefully with the country and the world starting to open up a little bit, hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of that whole stop working and travel thing now. I hope you're healthy enough to be able to do that. All right, so I have my 12 pieces of mesh on my base. I did a 30-inch ruffle, and you can see that what this has left me is a really full, beautiful base that's just going to be enhanced now by the ribbon that I add to the wreath. Okay. So the ribbon that is included in the kit that I have is these ribbons. Right, so I've got the red polka dots and the lime green gingham, and then I have a watermelon plaid with an emerald green or a lawn green linen texture type of ribbon. And for this, the kit comes with 5 yards of ribbon for each one, so that's 15 feet. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut these at, I think I'll do 10 inch. I think I'll do 10-inch tails. Oh, you're going to Galveston in June? I have one of my really good friends just didn't go to Galveston. She went to this weekend. Actually, she's in Corpus Christi. So are you going to go to Galveston? Are you going to hop on a cruise, or are you going just to hang out on the beach? All right, so I'm going to cut these at 10 inches, and I am going to do 6 each. So every other one will get a set. So I'm using my ribbon board here that is already measured for me, and I'm just wrapping it around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'll cut them off. And then pull it up. And snip. Oops. And snip. So that gives me my 6. And I'll do that for all 4 of them. I'm going to get 10-inch tails. And then I'll do them in sets of every other one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, you're going to go with your daughter at a family resort on the beach. That sounds awesome. Okay, so I really think this watermelon ribbon is super cute. It just screams summer to me. I was really happy when I found it. And I'm always a fan of gingham. It was so cute. My husband and I were somewhere the other day, and he was like, we were talking about patterns, and he's like, well, you know, the squares. I'm like, plaid? And he's like, no, you call it something else. I'm like, I call it plaid. He's like, no, something else. And then like 3 hours later, all of a sudden, he's like, gingham. I'm like, oh, yes, gingham. It's so funny that when you're not looking at something that sometimes you can't remember the names of different things. He's like, I told you called it something different. I was like, you're right. You're so right. Right, once I get the red polka dots done, then I'm going to go ahead and put a dovetail on the ribbon tails. So it just means I'm going to cut a V in them. And that just kind of gives it a finished look. 1, 2, 3. My hand's not big enough to hold on to that. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. I just dropped all of my ribbon on the ground. So I'll hold that and push that off to the side and cut these tails. So during the day I do instructional design, so I make training for a corporation, and I like to joke that I play well with shapes and colors, but what I really like about wreathing is it gives me that little bit of creative outlet of being able to actually make something with my hands and not use software. So you'll see that I've got nice little V's cut into the end there. Pull my cutting mat back towards me. And what I'm doing, I'm just cutting them in half. Got the wire end, and then I'm cutting up towards the wire to make the dovetail, or the V. Some people call it a ducktail too. I think it might depend on where you are in the country as to what term you use for making the V's in the ribbon. So this is the last set of tails to cut, and then we'll add them to the base. I think these polka dots and watermelons will look super cute with the gingham. All right, so there's those. Pull my mess off. Doesn't that pile of ribbon just look like summertime right there? I think that just looks like summertime right there. All right, and now I'm back to my base. All right, so I'm going to take the lime green and the red polka dot, and then I fold it in half, scrunch it in the middle, and then I'm just going to put it right here. I didn't scrunch it in the middle very well. Let me try that again. And then I'm just going to stick it right there in my pipe cleaner and twist it 2 or 3 times. And here, when you're making a wreath, you have a choice, right? There are some people who will take these ribbon tails and they'll pull them out into an X, so that one goes one way and one goes the other way. And I think that for this wreath this evening, I am just going to make a V. So I'm just going to let them sit like that because I like the way that the polka dot looks with the gingham, and I like the way that the watermelon's going to peek out from underneath the green of the linen. So, and I'm not adding in any other accessories to this wreath. So I'm just going to cut off my remaining pipe cleaners. I'm just going to snip those off, and then I like to bend those back down. Some people will take these and they'll actually like twist them to add a little bit of texture. But I find that sometimes, depending on how my ribbons turn out, that I end up hiding it. So for this evening, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take them, fold them in half, push them back out, go over to my next tie, and tie it in. And then snip them off with my wire cutters. Push them down, make them a cute little V. I also use this method if I'm making a pancake wreath. And what I mean by a pancake wreath are those wreaths that are thin that fit between your storm doors if you live in a part of the country that has storm doors or uses storm doors or screen doors. I've lived all over the country in various places, and I'm native to Nevada, and here most of our homes don't have screen or storm doors. So the thin wreaths are not super popular here. I found that when we lived in the Midwest that everybody had a storm door. We lived in Cincinnati for a while there in Ohio, where Twyla's in Ohio somewhere. I don't know. I didn't ask her which city she's in, but we lived in Cincinnati from 2005 to 2008, and every home in the neighborhood had a storm door. So I could have done these tails a little bit longer. In the kit, there's definitely enough ribbon to be able to do that. I either do them usually at 10 or 12 inches. I'm just going to pull these out. And that watermelon looks so cute underneath that green. Back to polka dots in gingham. Oh, you're right outside of Columbus. Oh, I love Columbus. I've not heard of Newark, but I've been to Columbus. My husband and I play a lot of board games, and usually in July or August there's a gaming convention there called Origins. And so when we lived in Cincinnati, we used to go over to Columbus for a long weekend and play board games. I think our 10-year anniversary, we actually went to a nice little restaurant called Mitchell's in somewhere near downtown Columbus. Alright, so this is the last one on the bottom, and then I'm going to move up to the top ties and put the ribbon tails up there on the top. And then I will decide what kind of bow to make. Kim, are you still with us? I know it's almost probably midnight now where you were at, there in North Carolina. Alright, so 5 more sets of tails. Then I'll put my cable mounts on my sign, let those dry while I make the bow. And then I will have a beautiful summer wreath. For anybody who's joined partially through the process, I am making a watermelon wreath, themed wreath, from a wreath kit that came with 5 yards of ribbon, 4 different types of ribbon, so a total of 20 yards of ribbon. Came with a roll of this really cute mesh and everything else that I needed to be able to put the wreath together. And I took, to make this just a wreath with one roll of mesh, I took the mesh, cut it at 30 inches, and then I used the ruffle method and added that to 12 twist ties on my base. Almost done. Now, if you didn't want to cut off the pipe cleaners like I am, you could use, you could put all kinds of things on the end or use other embellishments. If you weren't going to keep these little pieces here, you could actually put like foam balls on the end or like table scatter. That would be really cute for like a 4th of July if we weren't doing watermelons. You could also add additional hot glue something here in the middle of these tails if you wanted to. Those up there, there, and I'm on my last tail now. And then I will prepare my sign. And then make the bow. All right, there's the last one. Put those cute tails up. And there's our base so far. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this really cute sweet summertime sign and I am going to get some super glue. I actually use a DAP Rapid Fuse glue because it sets in 30 seconds. And then I'm going to get 2 cable mounts out of my stash here. And I'm going to turn this over. And I probably should put the glue down first. So I just put a drop in. Just a dab of DAP will do ya. And pull the adhesive backing off of it. And stick that on. And then the other thing that I do that a lot of other crafters don't do is I found that the adhesive on these cable mounts, when it gets warm, releases from the plastic portion of the cable mount. So what I do is I also squeeze a little bit of DAP inside so that if it gets warm in this hot Nevada sun, it doesn't fall off. I had a wreath in a salon last summer, and I was so embarrassed because I had gone in and the shop owner was like, this wreath that was hanging here broke. I'm like, what do you mean it broke? And she says, well, the hanger keeps coming off. And then she says, so I took it out of the sun and I put it over here and I stuck it back on. And then of course, when she gave it back to me, it had cooled off. So the adhesive was stuck back to the plastic again and it looked like it wasn't broken. She's like, no, literally, Holly, I promise you, it was not, the hanger was hanging off. And I'm like, okay, I believe you. And that's when I realized that the sun melts the adhesive, and so I always put a little bit of extra glue around the outside to keep that sucker stuck on there. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the string that comes with the sign because I don't have any need for that. Okay, so while that's drying, it says it takes 30 seconds. But while that's dry, I'm going to set that off to the side. And now I will make a bow. Okay, so I do not make hand bows. I will either use a Bowdabra or an easy bow maker. I'm just not, I haven't learned how to make a hand bow. My hands get sore when I hold the ribbon for too long. I know you're not supposed to squeeze it super tight, but I still seem to, my hands get tired. So I do use a bow maker, and this one is the Bowdabra. And I'm going to start with a pipe cleaner. So let me grab a pipe cleaner here and stick that in the Bowdabra. And then I set the middle of my Bowdabra on the 20-inch mark of my mat, and that's where I measure all of my loops and things from. So I'm going to start off with I guess I'll do an 8-inch tail. Seems about standard. And then I think that I want to go with maybe a 5-inch loop, 6-inch loop. I'll go with a 6-inch loop and just work my way in. So from 20 to 14 is 6 inches. And then do the same thing on this side. To the 6. Now some people will take their loops and they'll place their loops where they want them to go while they're making their bows. And then other people will make them and just stack all of the loops on top. And then once they get the ribbon out of the bow maker, then they'll kind of pull them around and make them go where they want them to go. Again, it really depends on you and how your creative mind works. Dovetail the end of that one. I think I'm making my bow upside down, but probably right side up for you guys. All right. Then I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to go with the solid green. I like the gingham. Oh, those are both checks. Oh, I'm going to go with the same pattern that I was doing the ribbon tails in. So I'm going to go back to my gingham. I'm going to dovetail the end. And I put the middle of my Bodabra at the 20-inch mark. And the nice thing about this cute gingham ribbon is that you can't really tell what side is the pretty side and what side is not the pretty side unless you look really, really closely at the stitching. So that's kind of nice. And these I'm going to make these about, those were 6 inches loop, so I'll make this one about 5.5. I know that for some wreath makers, bow making is the hardest part of the whole process. I know for me, unless I'm doing a lot of practicing, it definitely is the hardest part for me. It's part of the reason why I also use the bow makers, because it kind of helps me a little bit. And then I've misplaced my scissors, so there. And dovetail those. All right. Okay, I'm just putting my extra ribbon off to the side. Now I'm going up with this cute watermelon. Again, 8 inches. Trying to keep that on the 20. Up to about the 8. I'll bring this in about another 1/2 inch. So that makes these about 5. I think that one's a little bit too short. There we go. Oh, now the ribbon's stuck to the base. Huh. Pull my loops out a little bit. I want to make sure that we can see those. This ribbon is so stinking cute. And then dovetail the end there. Alright, so push this back closer to the middle of where the camera can see. I feel like that as my lives go on, my arms get shorter. I start to pull everything closer to me. And then I realize that eventually I'm doing things completely out of frame. Alright, so 20 to 28. And then these, well, this will be the smallest one as far as the loop goes in the bow. 20. right, and there's the last loop. It's a little bit longer than the other one. There we go. Put the tail on. Quickly dovetail it. Get those down there where I want them to be. And then I'm going to pull this up and out of the bowl, the Bodavra, and then, depending on your coordination, or my coordination, I'm going to pull this back around to the bottom. And I want to twist. And when I twist, I don't want to twist the pipe cleaner, I want to twist the bow itself to make it a really tight fit. And that gives me enough here on the bottom to be able to attach it to the frame once I'm ready. And then I'm going to do just a little bit of fluffing to make sure, because I kind of squished it when I twisted it. So put these loops, spread them out a little bit. See all of them. Okay. And I'm not going to play with it too much because once I put the sign on, I'll want to play with it some more. Okay. So then I've got 2 more pipe cleaners here. I'm going to attach my sign. And I've covered it up with the ribbon that I didn't use. So let me uncover it. Okay. Alright, so again, I've got this cute, sweet summertime sign that I'm going to add to the wreath. And I've used some DAP Rapid Fuse glue to attach the cable mounts to the back of the sign. And then for where I live, if anything is in the sunlight, it melts the adhesive on the back of the cable mount. So I did add a little extra to the inside. And that's still wet. I just super glued my finger. And that's okay. Thank goodness that stuff wears off. Okay. And then I'm going to decide where on this cute base I want this to sit. If I want this to be at the top, or do I want this to be in the middle? Kind of at this. I think I'm going to do it kind of diagonal. And when I place this, what I do want to do is I want to make sure that I'm placing it near one of the brackets, so that I have something to tie my pipe cleaner around. So I don't want to just tie it around the rings that it goes around. I want to tie it around those brackets to give it something sturdy to hold on to. Okay, so earlier I said that bow making was the hardest part. I might have misspoke. I think that putting the sign on is probably the hardest part for me. You can't really see what you're doing. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll get it on enough so that it's going to stay where I want it to stay. And then I'll go back afterwards and fiddle with it. Again, I'm feeling for the bracket. Trying to get my finger through here. Fish that through. And I don't want this necessarily to sit down inside the mesh. I really want it to sit on top of the mesh, the sign. So my closest bracket is actually down here. And again, I'm just wrapping it around that bracket. I want to make sure that I get it tight enough so that it doesn't move. Still a little loose. Oh yeah, it's a lot loose. Look at how much that moves. Okay, so I don't want it to be that loose. I want it to wiggle, even though it's not the final placement of it. I still want it to be a little bit more attached. So I'm going to pull it down a little bit more. And really wrap it around the base. I know that when you're watching wreath making, this is probably the most boring part too, because you can't see what the wreath maker is doing. But I'm just wrapping the pipe cleaner around the wire frame. And then I'm going to come over here to this side and pull it tight again. I'm gonna have to pull it down harder than I wanted to, or farther into the wreath than I wanted to get it to stay. If I have to, I can always go in and just add another cable mount. It's going to have to sit farther in than I want it to. And then for a secret, I've just grabbed a 4-inch zip tie to pull some of the slack on this crazy pipe cleaner, and I'm going to use it to pull that sign down because I'm fighting with it. I'm just going to zip tie it to the frame. Or at least I think I am. There we go. Pull that down as far as I can. Ah, that's better. Okay. Now we'll add the first bow and see what we think about adding possibly a second bow. Okay, so at this point it sits like this. And I can put my bow here near the top of the wreath. I don't want to cover up the sign too much. doing the same thing here that I did with the sign. I'm just taking that pipe cleaner and I'm fishing it through the mesh down to the base, and then I'm going to tie it on. I'm trying to look in the camera so I can see how flat it is up against the wreath. Okay. So I think that's pretty good there. And I do have extra ribbon, so I think I might add a few little funky bows maybe up here. I'll do a couple little somethings to it. Don't really know what yet. Alright. So I'm going to take what I have left, which is a little over, I've got about 4 feet left. I'm going to take that and cut it in half. Yeah. Gives me about 24 inches. Dovetail both ends. I was mentioning earlier that it was a nice spring day here in northern Nevada, but it must have got cold because the heater just kicked on in my house, and underneath these lights that makes it really kind of warm. Whew. I think we're supposed to be like down to 30 or something tonight, so. Does anybody else live in a part of the country where during the day you turn on the air conditioner and then at night you turn on the heater? Not to say that I turned on the air conditioner at 70 degrees today, I didn't, but it's going to start to get to that time of year where it's warm enough in the day where you do need the AC on and cool enough at night that you will want to have the heat on. Alright, so I'm just finishing these little pieces up here. And then I've got the green ribbon. It's falling on the floor. Okay. So there's the solid green. Last little bit. So what I'm going to do with these is I actually ended up doing these a little bit by hand. I'm going to take the ribbon and fold it in half, figure out how big I want my loop to be, and then I pinch it here in the middle. And I take the front one and I kind of curl it up a little bit, and then I take the back one and I turn it around and I make it face me. So they both kind of kick up like that. This is where the bow dabber comes back into play again because it holds stuff down for me. You could also do this in your bow dabber if you wanted to by just giving yourself a tail, twisting it, looping it, and then not twisting it. So you could do it kind of like that if you wanted to. Alright, so I'm sticking with a 6-inch tail again on this. But because they're going to be a little funky, there's just one loop of each. And the loop is on the opposite side. And it looks like I gave about a 5-inch loop. And math is not my forte, so I probably should have done a better job in calculating how much ribbon I had, but it's okay. I'll just trim it down a little bit. And I'm on to the next one. This cute little gingham. Dovetail in it. And then this one's going to end with the watermelon. Okay. There's a little bit of watermelon. And this little loop. Really cute tail. Okay. Alright, so I wonder, I am just going to use a half a pipe cleaner for this because I don't really need a full pipe cleaner. And I'm going to pop this up, and just like I did with the big bow, I'm just going to hold it there in the middle. Wrap this pipe cleaner around, hold on to the bow and twist it. And then I can pop up the loops. And play with the tails. And I'm just going to stick that here on the other side of this bow here. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. And I'm just going to try to attach it to the actual base of the wreath. So I have to fish it through the mesh. And because the pipe cleaner is shorter, that's a little bit of dexterity. There we go. Perfect. I got it. Attach that, just wind it around the base a couple times. And now that that is attached, I'll fluff it a little bit. So I'm always using wired ribbon, and I do that because usually it will behave, well, it does behave better than non-wired ribbon does. It'll go where you tell it to go, and it'll do what you ask it to do. Alright, so that really kind of filled in that side of the wreath, so I'm going to go ahead and put another one right here with my remaining ribbon. So, right about there. Maybe, okay, try to be right in here. Okay, so that was I've lost the other half of the pipe cleaner. Oh, here it is. Okay. It's like a commodity. Okay, there we go. Again, about an 8-inch tail. Stick it in. Take this top, take one of these, make sure that they're both facing up. It's a cute loop. I think I then did, what did I do? I guess it wouldn't really matter. Do you want the, put that tail in. This tail in. There's the other loop. And do the green on the opposite. That one. And then we'll finish it up like this. So cute watermelon. A loop. And a tail. Pull it back up. Use that half a pipe cleaner again to wrap it around. Got it back on the bottom here. Gonna cross it and then you twist the bow. And then find the location for where I want this to lay on the base. And I'm just trying to bring all of this into frame. I want it to go about right there. Maybe. Again, have to fish the pipe cleaner through the mesh. Wrap it around the base. And then I can fluff it. Oh, I forgot to trim the tails on this gingham. Look how long those are. Oh, it's not too bad, actually. Oh, okay, yeah, it is. The watermelon, these tails out here like that. All right. So, and this is the wreath that I created with my watermelon wreath kit. So my watermelon wreath kit comes with a roll of mesh, pipe cleaners to be able to attach everything to the base, this cute sweet summertime sign, and then 5 yards each of 4 different ribbons. So if you'd like to make something similar to this with this set of supplies, please visit me at www.silverknewnothing.com. That takes you to my Etsy shop, and the kits will be posted here momentarily once I get this as the after shot of what it is that you could be making. So once again, you guys, my name is Holly. I'm with Silver Knew Nothing. If you enjoyed my broadcast tonight, please like or follow my page. And thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you being here. Have a good night, everybody.